I beat every God of War on the hardest difficulty, and that sucked. So now I'm gonna rank them, starting with the easiest one, God of War Chains of Olympus. The hardest setting in this game is God mode. I couldn't find any exact numbers, but let's just say Kratos deals half as much damage and gets his ass kicked very easily. This is a PSP game, so your enemies have to be simple enough to fight on the toilet. Exploration is also streamlined, as it's usually very obvious when a part of the map is hiding a secret chest. Very helpful for maxing out your stats, which you absolutely need to do on this difficulty. Once you're in Marathon, you start to recognize some patterns about the enemies in this game. Basically, if they're shaped like Kratos, you know, human-ish, they're about to get fucking juggled, brother. They can also be grabbed infinitely, and everybody else just stands awkwardly in the corner while you bully them. As you can see, this makes most fights pretty easy. The bigger enemies are a lot more dangerous, but they're not very common, and you can mitigate a lot of risk with your magic. The first and best magic in the game is the Ifrit. It's a big damage circle that grants invincibility while it's used, and it's literally the only magic you'll care about for the entire game. Light of Dawn is a ranged attack that should be flushed down the nearest toilet. Charon's Wrath is a chain lightning attack that stuns and damages enemies, and you'll have it for about 10 minutes at the end of the game. The only other relevant upgrade is the Gauntlet of Zeus, which is like a nuclear missile, but angrier. It doesn't even get stronger with red orbs, it just becomes more disrespectful. Speaking of red orbs, they are very generous in this game. If you're picking up all the chests, it's possible to fully upgrade the blades by a little over the halfway point. And unlike most God of War games, you can upgrade everything by the end, even with the reduced amount of orbs gained on God mode. Have you ever opened a chest and gotten 20 orbs? 20 orbs? That's not a lot of orbs. By the way, that's also true for green orbs. Each chest will fill up about a third of your health bar. This is unironically one of the hardest parts of this game, as taking too much damage in a fight means your health won't be full for a long time. Luckily, there aren't too many hard fights, with the standouts being this double Cyclops fight in Hades, this final, very long gauntlet in Persephone's temple, and of course, Persephone herself. It took me 19 attempts and about 25 minutes total to take her down. While she does require some skill to beat, I would say she's the second easiest last boss in the franchise. To wrap up Chains of Olympus, it took 3 hours and 45 minutes to beat. I died a total of 41 times, with the most coming from Persephone, and I would give Chains an overall difficulty level of 4 out of 10. God of War. The first game in the series is, for the most part, pretty well balanced. God mode is punishing, but generally a fun time.
He punched my balls.
Until you get to Ares. For the sake of ranking difficulties, I'm going to ignore the final boss and just talk about the first 99% of this game. I'll talk about Ares later. This game has a very natural difficulty curve. Legionnaires into Minotaurs into freaky cyber Cyclops, what the fuck? Gorgons, Sirens, and the worst thing ever created, Harpies. Yeah, hi, I'd like to fight 700 of the same enemy at once. And could you make sure they're all screaming and crazy? Thanks. Thank you. Exploration in this game is amazing. I've been playing one since I was a baby, and I found new chests I'd never seen before during this playthrough. Mostly because I was following a guide on YouTube. You can hang on these? What the hell? There are so many hidden chests that it's easy to upgrade your health and magic to the max by about 2/3 of the way through the game, giving you an ample amount of orbs to level up everything in your arsenal. Except for the Blade of Artemis, which is absolutely dog shit. Don't use this. And if you disagree, it's because you have hair on your head and it's making you weak. Kratos plays so smoothly in this game, specifically when it comes to combos, parrying, and dodging. With the exception of a very small set of animations, you can block or dodge out of any combo instantly. So if you avoid certain combos, you're low-key kind of invincible. Speaking of things that make you invincible, this game has the best magic in the series. It's not up for debate. Poseidon's Rage is an all-timer. Strong without any upgrades, ridiculously strong with upgrades. It's good against one guy or 100. Thanks for the magic, Poseidon. Hey, why don't you look like this in the third game? Medusa's Gaze is also really good. You can basically skip fights even in endgame by just freezing the big guy and blowing him up. You remember how I said I hate harpies? Well, forget all that, because you can farm them for crazy amounts of orbs with a little Medusa action. Zeus's Fury? Objectively trash. Army of Hades. Oh my god, dude, what were they thinking? This magic will play the game for you, especially when it's maxed out. The damage is absurd absurd, and you can even cast other magic while it's happening. I love it so much. Once you get a few abilities maxed out, even the Hades section becomes trivial, except for those goddamn spinning poles. Hey man, if you design this, do me a favor, go to prison. Some notably difficult encounters include the Centaur Circle Room, the Minotaur boss for 7 minutes of pain and suffering, sharp poles, and of course the absolute horseshit 3-phase encounter against the worst god on the Pantheon, Ares. It took me 5 hours and 53 minutes to beat this game. Pre-Ares, I died a total of 27 times, with 5 of those coming from the Minotaur. And I would give God of War 1 a difficulty rating of 5 out of 10. Before Ares, of course. God of War Ghost of Sparta. Kratos is literally a god in this one. He can block attacks here that he couldn't in Chains, and he can punch Atlanteans in the face for a really long time. It's the perfect video game. On the surface, this one actually seems easier than Chains, because a lot of old enemies have worse attack patterns and easily dodgeable moves. You also get Thera's Bane, which is essentially free damage on top of all of your normal attacks. But don't fall for it, brother, it's a trap. The new enemies are fucking crazy, and you need Thera's Bane because so many enemies have armor now. Now, I definitely got my ass beat by the golems a few times, but those things are nothing compared to the Chaos Wraith. They start off above ground with a handful of annoying moves, and then they go underground. After about 3 seconds, they jump out and try to grab you. If they get you, it's over. This fight was a complete clusterfuck, and I spent 20 minutes getting my ass kicked until I realized what was happening.
Nope.
You can stop them from going underground by avoiding 4 things: combos, reversals, magic, and pressing the triangle button at all. Just stop playing the game, dummy. If you just do light attacks over and over and over again, the fight becomes a joke. These things alone are harder than everything in Chains of Olympus, until you figure out that they're just the most poorly designed enemies of all time. Whew. Anyways, Thera's Bane is a great damage buff that makes every fight easier. Green orb chests are once again horrific. I think the PSP just can't load more than 3 orbs at a time. The alternate weapon in this game is the Arms of Sparta. This thing is absolutely busted, maybe better than the Gauntlet of Zeus. When you first get it, it's like, okay, looks cool, does decent damage, has a range throw. Brother, when you power this thing up, you will dumpster those blades so fast. Plus, red orbs are everywhere. You could max out most of the magic in this game, but unfortunately, it's all pretty much dog shit. Eye of Atlantis is a single target electric beam that deals impressively small amounts of damage, and I only used it for iframes. Horn of Boreas is just a big question mark, like what the f do you even do? Scourge of Aranis is at least useful for grouping enemies up. Yeah, this game has some of the worst magic in the series. There were a surprising number of challenging fights compared to Chains, and I definitely got my ass whooped more than a few times, but the bosses were still very easy, and Thanatos is competing with Persephone for easiest last boss in the series. In Ghost of Sparta, I died a total of, holy shit, 132 times? Brother, listen, I wasn't locked in. Look, it sounds bad. It sounds really bad, but get this. 58 of those were to the Chaos Wraith.
Nope.
Maybe I am bad, but also fuck those things. It took 7 hours and 50 minutes to finish, and I'd give it an overall difficulty score of 6 out of 10. God of War 3. The third game drops you in the deep end of the Pantheon immediately. Hydro Horse into Poseidon in the first 20 minutes is some nasty work, but if you make it through that, the next 3 hours are chill as hell. Before the next boss fight, you get the bow and the Blade of Olympus for Rage of Sparta. This yellow bar is like magic, but for bald guys. I won't explain what that means. Whether it's Thera's Bane or the Bow of Apollo, I'm just always glad to have it, man. Rage of Sparta is high-key dog shit. I don't know why its damage is so low in this game, and it doesn't even reduce the amount you take that much either. But regardless, having both of these before fighting Hades is downright merciful. 3 gives you a massive number of tools to deal with enemies, which is part of why it's in the middle of the list. There are 3 abilities that utilize your yellow bar, 3 alternate weapons, each coming with a unique magic attack, and you have all the upgrades Kratos gathered in 2, like Icarus Wings and the Golden Fleece. This is by far the most equipment in any God of War game. The cherry on top is that you'll easily have enough red orbs to max out all but one of these upgrades. We'll start with the yellow bar abilities. The bow is just good. Free damage from range in pretty much any fight but Hercules. What the hell? This fight's fucked fucked up, man. The head of Helios reveals secrets and is gross to look at. And the boots aren't really that useful, but wow, look at him go. When it comes to weapons, I'm always a blades guy. But the Nemean cestus is pretty similar to the Gauntlet of Zeus in that it just kind of blows shit up. And I like that. Those are the only weapons I use, if I'm honest. The whip requires a PhD in physics to use combos, and the claws feel like wet noodles. But there are people who swear by them, so, you know, having choices is cool, I guess. Okay, that all sounds pretty good, so why is this game harder than Chains or 1? Oh yeah, it's cause some of the fights are bullshit, brother. Hades is the first skill check. Bro isn't that hard, but your health and magic are still low, and it's a pretty long fight considering how early into the game it is. He's great though, I love that little freak. Hercules is a giant toddler. Helios couldn't outrun the plot. Most of the bosses are pretty easy. What the fuck is that? This scorpion is the hardest boss in the game for some reason. I don't even think he's a god. I mean, he might be, I don't know. He spent an hour and a half kicking my ass. Once this dude shows up, the game just gets annoying. You got the spinning cube of death, the Pandora escort mission, and this fight with the Cerberus and the satyrs made my hair fall out. That's why I'm like this. Everything I just mentioned is way harder than Zeus. I'm not kidding. It took me 6 minutes to do his first phase, and after 20 more minutes of some light father-son bonding, I was already down in the Shadow Realm. Outside of the last act though, this game really isn't that difficult. To wrap it up, it took me 10 hours and 43 minutes to beat God of War 3, and I died a total of 108 times. Overall difficulty score of 7 out of 8. What? Overall difficulty score of 7 out of 10. God of War 2. The hardest fight in God of War 1 comes immediately after climbing out of hell. God of War 2 starts by making you climb out of hell. We're about to get our asses kicked. On lower difficulties, this is one of the best games in the series. On Titan mode, you are fighting for your fucking life. So what's different in Titan mode? Let's see. Oh, Kratos just takes 500% more damage. Yeah, that sounds fair. It's not so bad in the beginning when you're fully powered up from the first game, but as soon as you start rubbing that sword, it all goes downhill. Here's me getting control of Kratos after a cutscene. There I go. That is this whole game. For enemies, we've got the classics, you know, soldiers, minotaurs, gorgons, but now we've got dizzy rocks, previous Kratos victims, and a guy who can read. He's literate? How am I supposed to beat that? This game is filled with bosses, mini-bosses, and arenas that make you feel like you're losing your mind. Theseus requires you to kill 8 minotaurs during one phase of his fight for some reason. This Cerberus dog thing comes at you like an unstoppable demon. Local Greek man can't translate, too busy shitting himself. Fight after fight after fight where you just feel hopeless, man. I think part of the reason why is that the magic doesn't really help much for the first half of the game. The bow fires quickly and does an okay amount of damage, but it's entirely single target. Yeah, not a lot of single target fights in God of War, and Kratos' rage is great for groups, but it's more of a stun than a damage dealer. Neither of these are close to a Poseidon's Rage or Army of Sparta level of power. By the time you get Head of Euryale, you've been through the damn ringer, brother. I would argue the best magic in this game is the magic of the circle button. When you throw enemies, the damage they inflict to each other is the same as the damage inflicted to Kratos. 500%. So one of your strongest tools is your enemies themselves. You do also get the Barbarian Hammer, which is strong as fuck and one of my favorite weapons in the series. But you already know 2 had to make it hurt to use, literally. You can't dodge with the hammer out, which is downright debilitating. There were a lot of fights where I just didn't use the hammer because it was too dangerous. Then you have the Spear of Destiny, which I can't figure out, honestly. How the fuck do you use this? And what's up with the upgrade cost, man? After picking up literally every chest in the game, I managed to max the blades, the hammer, and the Head of Euryale, which looks hilarious, but is low-key one of the strongest things in the game. The bow and Kratos' Rage were level 2, Quake and the Spear were never leveled at all. To me, this feels like an artificial level of difficulty, where you can't use all the tools you're given to their maximum ability, effectively nerfing you by design. If every ability has a situation where it shines, you're forced to pick which fights you're not gonna have a good answer for. I think that's kind of whack. It's hard to overstate just how brutal this game is, but my stats will speak for themselves. Notable encounters include every fight in the game. It took me just just over 11 hours to beat Titan mode, and I died a total of 124 times, a significant portion of which came from the big man himself. Overall difficulty score, 8 out of 10. God of War Ascension. This game is a disaster. I'm sorry, man, this is my least favorite entry in the series. If you've seen my video about Ascension, you know how this part is gonna go. Ascension was the last game in the Greek saga, and they were just shaking shit up left and right just to do it. Kratos plays very differently in this game, and it adds a lot to the difficulty. For starters, the circle button has been changed to quote-unquote physical attacks, which translates to 1 kick for 1 damage. Thanks, circle button. R1 is the new circle button, and it throws out a ranged grab, which allows basically the same functionality as a normal grab. But putting it on a different button from every other game in the series causes my muscle memory to constantly front kick for the first 30 minutes of the game. You can also pick up these random weapons left on the floor and use those with the circle button. But they're just awful, man. Don't even bother. The biggest change, and one of the things that makes this game so annoyingly difficult, is the rage meter. Yeah! If your rage meter is not full, you are locked out of your best combos. Dealing damage increases your meter, and taking damage lowers it. A lot of enemies will leave the arena or fly away from you, and your meter shits itself if you haven't hit anything lately. Once your meter falls off, you're weak again. Thanks, Ascension. Very cool idea. You have to deal with this the whole game, managing this pointless bar so that you don't get nerfed in the middle of a crucial combo. It also replaces Rage of the Gods from the other games, and the ability you get when you click the sticks in is terrible. Ruined my life. And we're not done yet, by the way. They nerfed Kratos again for some reason. Now you have to press L1 and X to perfect block. I don't know why, please don't ask. All of these changes add an artificial level of difficulty to the game that doesn't exist in the other 5. It's not all bad though. Most of the new enemies they added are pretty fun to fight. It's usually pretty easy to keep a full meter on these guys and just combo for days. Smaller enemies are more annoying because there's usually a million of them. And they are absolutely feral. So if you mess up one block, you're getting jumped by everybody. The boss fights range from not that bad to I'm quitting video games forever. Fighting 2 of the Furies at the same time? Honestly, man, things could be worse. Fighting this one fucking Manticore perfectly for 5 minutes while looking at his goofy ass head? What the fuck is a Manticore? Sorry, it's all good. I'm cool now. This would normally be the time where I mention the magic abilities and if they're good or not, but unfortunately it doesn't even matter if the magic is good because you'll never even see them. Red orbs are tight in this game, as in you will have to ignore almost all of the abilities you pick up forever. Since magic is unlocked via upgrades, you literally don't have enough orbs to access anything but the Fire of Ares ability, which is basically just damage in a big area. You know what's even crazier than that though? They are all the exact same. Purple, blue, yellow, red, it doesn't matter. So enjoy your one magic ability for the run, I guess. The whole game is hard, but I think everyone will agree the Trial of Archimedes is insane. A 10-minute gauntlet against every enemy in the game with no checkpoints. Just complete madness. I feel like Ascension broke something inside me. I don't even want to do the wrap up for this one. It took me 1,600 hours to beat and I died 10 trillion times. Overall difficulty, yes. And finally, the hardest game in the series. God of War 1, Just Ares. This fight is so bullshit, so ridiculously unbalanced, that it makes me never want to play God mode in 1 again. The whole time I'm thinking, yeah, the first 99% is pretty fun, but then I'm gonna hate everything and myself. If it was just the first and the last phase, it would be okay. The first one is the best, where you get to use everything you've picked up the whole game to whoop this man's ass. The third phase is frustrating because now you have to learn the sword, and oh, also, you just got one shot, see you later. But the fucking clones, man. What is wrong with these clones, bro? It is the epitome of beating your head against a wall, trying to find any kind of reliable strategy against these bald monsters. You have to use the strongest, most broken combination of magic and abilities in the game to even have a remote chance of winning. But even if you do win, you will have been beaten down by dozens, if not hundreds, of failed attempts. My first thought while watching this cutscene was why? Why did I win that time? It just felt meaningless. It took me 5 hours and 53 minutes to beat this game, but an hour and a half of that time was spent on Ares. 25%? You made me bust out the calculator, you bastard? Yeah, this fight sucks. So that's my ranking of the games. Let me know what you think down in the comments. I'm gonna go outside and meet my first human being. See you next time.